Good morning, gentle people of the South Coast. I thought with all the holidays waiting for us round the corner, it could be quite fun and useful to chat about those pesky little things called emotions. You know, those things that get us into a lot of hot water if we don't keep them in check, but also those things that are lovely to experience when we are in love. So, what are emotions? Emotions are our guidance system, if you will. Why do I say guidance system? Because when you feel irritated, you know that something is not sitting well with you. When you feel angry, something is really not sitting well with you. It may even be described as the next level of irritation or frustration. And then, of course, we've got those wonderful positive emotions like happiness, joy, and being in love. Now, we know that when we are in love, the world is brighter, we are happy, we just see all the positive things. And, of course, we want to be with and tell the person we're in love with that we love them. So you can see how emotions have a very real influence on the quality of the way we live our lives. Because as I say, when you're in love, everything is brighter. You don't take things so seriously and life is great. Of course, the opposite of that is when you're sad, then you battle to see the good, you battle to see the joy, and life tends to make you feel heavy, you feel down, and there's an emptiness that is very difficult to fill. When we look at other emotions like frustration, now frustration is one of those interesting things where we talk about a frustration tolerance level, because let's be honest, some people get frustrated a lot quicker than others. So if you get frustrated very quickly, let's say you battle to teach someone something, your kids or a colleague, you just haven't got the patience, you get frustrated if they don't get it right away, then you have a very low frustration tolerance level. On the other hand, if you're one of those special patient people who can sit with someone and go over the same material again and again till they get it, then you've got a very high frustration tolerance level. So those are very interesting emotions. And the other one is anger. Now, we all get angry from time to time, but it's the unchecked anger that spills over into very negative consequences. When that red mist comes down and you just can't control yourself, that is a very dangerous place to find yourself in. Now, why I decided that this would be a good thing to talk about now is because Thursday's a public holiday, and then we've got Easter peeping at us. So there's going to be family around, friends around, and those are all very, very good opportunities to get frustrated and angry. When we have family staying with us and perhaps don't feel that they are pulling their weight, or one family member is perhaps gets under your skin a bit, then emotions can happen that could ruin the get-together for everyone involved. So let's talk a little bit about this. This is generally referred to as emotional intelligence. So, of course, by implication, that means you are intelligent about your emotions and the emotions of others. So let's start with you first. So when we're all happy and jolly and in love and feeling the vibe, that's great, and life clips along merrily. But when we get angry, that is when we need to be able to pump the brakes and say to yourself, I am angry, but I'm going to park it. I will calm down. I will think about this, And I will then find the correct time, the right time, to chat to the person or persons concerned about this. Because there is a right time and there is a wrong time. And you may feel, I want to talk about this now. I need to get it off my chest. I need to make hay while the sun shines. The other person may not be in the right place to be receptive to this, and then it could do more harm than good. Of course, once things are said in anger, once things are said that haven't been well thought through, once things are said that put certain balls in motion, it can be very hard to correct the damage, and friendships can be ruined. Respect is lost, and people may see you in a different light, from that moment forward. And that can all be avoided with some emotional intelligence and being self-aware. So when you get angry or frustrated, ask yourself this one question, and trust me, I've done it in my life, and it has saved many a relationship and argument that could have turned unnecessarily ugly. So when you get angry, ask yourself, will this matter in 3 or 4 weeks' time? The funny thing is, invariably it won't. Invariably, if you had to be honest with yourself, you will realize that in 3 days' time, it would have all blown over. You probably won't even remember why you were getting upset. And if you remember, you'd realize it wasn't that important. So just by asking yourself that simple question, will this matter in 3 or 4 weeks' time? It gives you perspective, because what in the moment can seem like a huge injustice that's being done to you, all of a sudden you realize, nah, it's not that important. And you can let it wash over you and ignore it. Of course, if the answer is yes, in 3 or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, it is still going to matter, then the situation has to be addressed. But as I've mentioned, make sure that you park that emotion first, and then ask yourself, what is my desired goal? Now, I would, for the sake of this little discussion, say your goal would probably be to clear the air, to put your feelings out there, to have a discussion with a person or people concerned and resolve the matter amicably. Then move on and get back to where you were before. Of course, if that was not your intention, you either would, leave the gathering or cut ties with the person or people concerned, because that's where it is. But if you really wish to just resolve the issue, then you need to take a step back and make sure you've calmed down sufficiently so you can think logically about how to best handle the situation to get to your desired goal. Now, the fact of the matter is, if we act in haste, we repent at our leisure. Which means, if you act in haste, you are angry now, you need to get it out now, you need to address it, you need to get hold of this person, and they need to know what they've done. The chances are you're going to say and or do something that you're going to have to rectify down the road. You are going to have to do some crisis control later on, because when emotions are heightened, we say things we don't mean, or we say things in a way we don't mean it. We exaggerate. I have told you 1,000,000 times. Well, of course you didn't. You probably said it 3 or 4 times. That's a far cry from 1,000,000. It may just feel like it at the time. But once you, like the song, Who Let the Dogs Out, once those dogs are out, it is very hard to rein them back in, because now you've got to apologize and grovel. And as I've said, people may have lost respect for you. You could have lost respect for yourself, and the way people look at you is damaged, and the relationship could be damaged. It is far better to, as I say, pump the brakes, Park that anger. Think about it. Think about it logically. And then plan your approach. Then you can say to the other person or people concerned, when you have time, could we have a little chat? There's something I'd like to discuss with you. So that you know that they are also in a receptive mode, because they may be in a place where they're not ready to hear you, and that would make the whole exercise pointless. So when it comes to anger and frustration, ask yourself, will this matter in 3 or 4 weeks' time? If the answer is no, let it go. Be the adult, be the bigger person, let it wash over you. However, if the answer is yes, make sure you give yourself sufficient time to calm down, to identify what your desired outcome is, and then to plan how you're going to put your case when the other person or people are in a place where they are receptive to it. The other thing that I need to mention is, of course, if you know that certain people or yourself get a bit mouthy when they've had a drink too many, avoid those situations. If you yourself tend to get a bit mouthy, if you've had a drink too many, please, guys and girls, stop before you have that drink too many. And if you know someone else is inclined to this, then just don't take what they say so seriously. Let it wash over you. Now, the other side of this is, of course, also to be aware of other people's emotions. If you know Uncle Peter or Susie tend to be a little bit short-tempered, I'm not saying that is correct, but I'm saying you are aware of it. This is called social awareness. Then don't antagonize them. And if they're getting a little bit hot under the collar, either walk away or try and calm the situation down. That way, the whole get-together is not spoiled for everyone involved. Because let's face it, there's nothing worse than going to a family braai and 2 members of the family or more are having a full go at each other, and you sitting there and having to deal with all this, and actually you just want to pack up and go home. So really, and of course what we remember about that gathering is the unpleasantness, not the pleasantness that went before or after. We remember the unpleasantness. So be aware of those triggers that either you or other people have and manage them. Don't react to them. Don't have that knee-jerk reaction where, Susie said X and I won't put up with it. I'm going to give her a piece of my mind, etc., etc. Come on. Somebody has to be the adult. Somebody has to just say, it doesn't matter. It is not important. I shall let it wash over me. So those are the emotions that we need to be aware of. Our own emotions. Don't have a knee-jerk reaction to them. Don't feel I have the right to voice my frustration and displeasure. Yes, of course you do. But then choose the time and the place to do it and say, make sure that it's worth it. My question again, will this matter in 3 or 4 weeks' time? Because generally it won't matter. If it does matter, then deal with it as I have explained at an appropriate time and when you are calmed down and you can think logically. So unchecked emotions generally leave us having to do crisis management afterwards. It's far better to keep a check on your emotions. And of course, we may not all, emotional intelligence and managing your own emotions is a skill. In other words, it's something that we learn, like learning to ride the bicycle or play the piano. But some people have not learned it because they may not have been exposed to it as children. Maybe mom and dad or mom or dad had a bit of a quick temper and tended to fly off the handle and so on. And as a child, you witnessed that and internalized this and thought, oh, this is how one deals with little upsets. That is not necessarily the case. In fact, there are far better ways to communicate and deal with unpleasantness or upsets than flying off the handle and feeling that I have to say my piece this red hot minute. No, you don't. Suck it up. dial it back, pump the brakes, and deal with it when everyone's calmed down and the time and the place is correct. So checked emotions are definitely going to save your holiday and your Easter. And if you feel that you are being mistreated, abused, and otherwise disrespected, don't act on it immediately. Think about it. Think whether it's worth the discussion and possible confrontation, and take it from there. And of course, being mindful of other people's emotions is also important. Susie may have been up all night with a sick toddler, or Peter may be having a lot of stress at work, and so they have issues in their lives which affects the way they deal with certain situations and family gatherings and so on. And if we just display a little bit of patience and a little bit of empathy, it can go a long way to ensure that everybody has a wonderful holiday time and can go home feeling that they've had a good time, that they did manage to relax, that they perhaps did manage to let go of some of those stresses and strains, which we all have in today's life. It is challenging. There are so many things we have to deal with on a daily basis. And yes, sometimes we get a little bit hot under the collar for the wrong reason at the wrong time. But if you choose not to take the bait, if you choose not to react to it, it can all just wash away. And as I say, a good time can be had by all. Emotions guide us. Our body tells us, when we are anxious or afraid, we know we have that sick feeling in the stomach. When we are happy, we have the lightness. When we have anger, we can have sweaty hands, and some people will shake with anger. They'll go red in the face or get a rash on their necks. So these are our clues, our guidance system, our emotions that indicate to us where we are psychologically, how physiologically we respond to our emotions. But with a little bit of awareness, with a little bit of thought behind the actions, the think before you act, saying, all this can be avoided, and you can learn to manage your emotions, which it's the gift that keeps on giving, whether it's in a family situation, amongst friends, or whether it's at work with your colleagues. If you can be the person that's level-headed, that remains calm and logical and has the goal in mind, then you can influence other people to do the same. So please, folks, I wish you all a wonderful holiday time, a wonderful Easter, happy family time, happy time with friends. And let's make sure that when the time comes to say goodbye and take your leave, that everyone's happy and leave with fondness for the other people. If you're on the road, please drive carefully, be safe, be patient. Again, those emotions that make you want to have some road rage and overtake, or, drive on someone's tail, those things are really the unchecked emotions that can cost lives. So stay safe, have a wonderful time, keep your emotions in check, think about them before you act. And I'll see you or hear you. You will hear me on the flip side.
The radio station you can't live without. This is your radio.
This is South Coast Radio.